Naruto had been awake for less than 10 minutes when Kurama told him the eye in Danzo's report was the same one. The hunting cabin was silent, except for rain tapping against the roof. Naruto sat at the table, with his left shoulder bound tightly against his body, and several bruised ribs wrapped beneath his shirt. Danzo's file lay open in front of him. Masked Shinobi, Sharingan. Unknown spatial technique. Kurama remembered the red eye. More importantly, Kurama remembered the chakra behind it. For the first time since destroying Konoha, Naruto had a new target. Then he noticed 3 sets of footprints outside the cabin. Not travelers, too evenly spaced, too careful. Someone had already found him. Naruto looked at the report one more time, folded it, and slid it inside the inner lining of his vest. He had spent years being hunted by Konoha. Apparently, the rest of the world had decided it wanted a turn. The first footprint was almost invisible beneath the mud beside the western window. Naruto only noticed it because the rain had softened the ground after the person stepped there. The second was near a pine tree. The third was farther back, where someone had tried to move through the roots instead of the open ground. At least 3 people, possibly 4. Naruto did not stand immediately. His shoulder hurt even when he breathed too deeply. Hiruzen had fractured it during their final battle, and Kurama's chakra had repaired enough damage to let Naruto travel, but not enough to make him whole. His ribs were better than they had been 6 days earlier, but twisting quickly still sent pain through his chest. So, Naruto made a shadow clone. Even that hurt more than usual. The clone sat at the table, wearing the same expression Naruto had been wearing. Naruto moved through the back of the cabin, slipped beneath the overhanging roof, and lowered himself into the wet grass. He circled through the trees. The hunters waited another 4 minutes, professional enough not to rush. Then the front door burst inward. The clone barely turned before 2 needles crossed the room. One struck his neck. The second struck his chest. The clone dispersed. Its memories returned to Naruto. 3 attackers, 1 on the roof, 2 at the door. The roof hunter carried a short bow modified for shinobi use and several poisoned needles. One of the others had a chakra sensor tag wrapped around his wrist. Naruto changed position. The archer leaned over the roof edge to see why the body had vanished. A wire tightened around his ankle. Naruto pulled. The man dropped hard against the roof tiles, lost the bow, and slid toward the edge. Before he could recover, a wind-coated kunai struck beneath his jaw. The man disappeared from sight behind the roofline. The 2 below reacted instantly. One rushed around the eastern wall. The sensor stayed near the door and pressed 2 fingers to the tag. Naruto had expected that. The attacker rounding the wall found a shadow clone standing in the rain. He cut through it. The clone burst into smoke. The real Naruto was behind him. One short wind blade ended the fight. The sensor was smarter. He did not pursue. He ran. Naruto followed for less than 30 seconds before the pain in his ribs forced him to slow. The hunter noticed. He turned and threw 3 explosive tags. Naruto ducked behind a tree. The blast shredded bark and sent him to one knee. The hunter immediately changed direction, trying to reach the road. Naruto formed 1 clone. He deliberately gave the clone more chakra than it needed, then flattened his own chakra output as much as his control allowed. The clone ran visibly to the left. The hunter's tag reacted to the stronger moving signal, and he turned toward it. That was his mistake. Naruto had spent years learning how much people trusted their own abilities. The sensor tag was useful, but it did not identify souls. It pointed the hunter toward the strongest nearby moving chakra signature, and Naruto had given it exactly the signal he wanted it to see. Naruto was already moving low through the ditch beside the road. He emerged behind the hunter and placed a kunai against the man's spine. The hunter froze. Naruto did not kill him yet. He needed information. The man was not a village shinobi. He belonged to a private bounty group that worked between several small countries. The news from Konoha had spread faster than Naruto expected. Not the whole truth. Fragments. A blonde missing nin had killed the 3rd Hokage. The same shinobi had destroyed Danzo Shimura and crippled Konoha's military command. He was the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki. Some buyers wanted him alive. Some only wanted proof of his location. The hunter also carried a folded bounty sheet. Before Naruto opened it, he asked one more question. He wanted to know how they had found this cabin instead of merely finding his general route. The answer was ordinary enough to be believable. A border tracker had found traces left by an injured traveler moving west from the Land of Fire. The tracker had sold the route to a bounty broker. The hunters had followed blood on brush, disturbed ground, and reports of stolen shelter supplies until the trail narrowed to the cabin. They had not known for certain that the traveler was Naruto until they reached the area. Naruto accepted that explanation because it matched his condition. He had been careful after leaving Konoha, but a fractured shoulder and damaged ribs had made perfect concealment impossible. Then he opened the bounty sheet. The drawing was terrible. The face was too long. The whisker marks looked like someone had attacked the artist with charcoal. The hair looked less like Naruto and more like a startled chicken. Naruto stared at it. Kurama stared through his eyes. Kurama finally said the artist had improved him. Naruto folded the paper very slowly. He did not speak to Kurama again for the rest of the afternoon. The joke stopped being funny when Naruto read the line beneath the drawing. Possible identity: Naruto Uzumaki, son of Minato Namikaze, the fourth Hokage. Naruto's expression changed. He asked where the hunter had heard that. The answer was not useful at first. Black market brokers, traveling bounty dealers, a merchant in the land of grass. Someone in the land of rivers. The story had appeared in several places almost at the same time. That mattered. Naruto had never announced who his father was. Hiruzen had kept it secret. Danzo's files knew the truth, but Root was dead. The rumor could have escaped from the destruction of the village, but not this quickly, and not through several separate criminal markets with nearly identical wording. Someone had planted it. The hunter saw Naruto thinking and made one final mistake. He reached slowly toward a hidden blade. Naruto killed him before the weapon cleared the sleeve. A few minutes later, Naruto returned to the cabin. He took everything he could carry: medicine, dry food, Danzo's file, the small collection of sealing notes he had accumulated over several years. Then he poured lamp oil across the floor. He stood outside while the cabin burned. The rain weakened the flames, but did not stop them. Naruto watched until the roof began to collapse. Someone wanted old enemies of Minato looking for him. Someone wanted bounty hunters chasing him. Someone wanted Naruto moving. The obvious answer was the masked man. That did not make it the correct answer. Naruto had learned what happened when hatred decided the truth before evidence arrived. This time, he would find proof. Far behind him, Konoha was trying to survive the proof he had already left there. Kakashi Hatake returned 2 days after the attack. He had been sent west with an elite tracking team after one of the false trails Naruto planted before entering the village. By the time Kakashi realized the information was manufactured, the fighting in Konoha was already over. He entered through a section of wall that no longer had a gate. The first thing he noticed was the smell: smoke, wet ash, medicine. The second was the silence. Konoha had never been truly silent while he was inside it. Even during war, there had always been orders, footsteps, messengers, children, vendors, someone complaining about something. Now, parts of the village sounded empty. The hospital was not. Every available medic had been called in. Sakura had spent almost 2 days there with only a few hours of sleep. She was not one of the village's greatest medical ninja, but she had continued training medicine under Konoha instructors after discovering that her chakra control suited the work. Now, every useful pair of hands mattered. Sasuke was alive. Iruka was alive. Hundreds of shinobi were injured. Dozens were dead. Hiruzen was among them. Kakashi stood beside the covered body for a long time. He had known Hiruzen was old. That did not make seeing him dead easier. The official report was still being assembled, but the important facts were already clear. Naruto had entered through Root. Danzo was dead. Most of Root's underground command structure had been destroyed. The central communications tower was gone. Several military storehouses had burned. The barrier network had been damaged badly enough that Konoha could no longer trust its coverage. Hiruzen had died fighting Naruto near the administrative district. Kakashi asked about civilians. The casualty officer hesitated, then explained that most civilian shelters had not been directly targeted. Naruto had even redirected some of his clones away from military targets after fires threatened evacuation routes. Iruka confirmed something similar after waking. Naruto had been able to kill him. He had not. Kakashi did not mistake restraint for innocence. Hiruzen was still dead. So were many shinobi who had been defending their home. But it meant Naruto's goal had not been mindless extermination. That made the problem harder, not easier. A monster was simple. A person who had made terrible choices for reasons he believed were justified was much more difficult. Konoha did not appoint a new Hokage immediately. There was no time for ceremonies and no agreement on a successor. A temporary recovery council formed from senior jonin, administrative officials, and representatives of the major clans. Its authority was ugly and incomplete, but it could distribute food, organize patrols, protect the hospital, and keep Konoha from collapsing into panic. The Fire Daimyo reacted as soon as reliable reports reached the capital. Emergency grain, medicine, money, and regional guards were sent toward Konoha, but the daimyo refused to recognize a permanent new Hokage, while the village command structure was still being rebuilt. For the moment, Konoha survived through clan reserves, state relief caravans, and whatever military stores had escaped Naruto's attack. Their first serious discussion was not about revenge against Naruto. It was about the border. Foreign scouts were already appearing near roads that had been quiet for years. Konoha was wounded. Every rival can see it. The village wanted Naruto hunted. It simply did not have the luxury of making Hat's only problem. Sasuke learned this during his first argument with the Recovery Council. He wanted permission to join a pursuit team. The answer was no. He had fought Naruto briefly, and had nearly been killed before Naruto simply moved past him. That humiliation. But Sasuke had another problem that had never disappeared. Itachi was still alive. The massacre of the Uchiha clan had still happened. Naruto's disappearance, years earlier, had changed the village around Sasuke, but it had not erased the body-filled night that defined his life. So Sasuke did not suddenly make Naruto the center of his world. He returned to training. He remembered the speed of Naruto's wind-guided weapon. He remembered being thrown through a wall. And he added one more name to the list of people he intended to surpass. Sakura made a different choice. She stayed at the hospital. Neither of them knew that far from Konoha, Naruto was creating an intelligence network made entirely from himself. Recovery took weeks. Naruto hated every day of it. His shoulder improved slowly. Kurama could accelerate healing, but pushing too much chakra through damaged tissue made the area burn and swell. Naruto learned that regeneration was not the same thing as permission to be stupid. He trained lightly. He read. He moved every 2 or 3 days. Most importantly, he experimented with clones. A shadow clone had always been more than a fighter. Every memory returned when it disappeared. Naruto had used that fact to accelerate training for years. Now he realized the same trick could search an entire region. He could not create hundreds and leave them active for days. The chakra cost and mental backlash would destroy him. But he did not need hundreds. He needed careful assignments. 5 clones left from a temporary camp in different directions. All 5 transformed before entering populated areas. One became a tired traveling laborer and spent 3 days near a black market gambling house. One took the appearance of a minor merchant and bought drinks for mercenaries. One worked around a caravan station where information traveled with cargo. One followed rumors about Red Cloud cloaks. The last entered cheap inns used by bounty hunters. Naruto remained hidden and recovered. The method was slow. It was also unbelievably irritating. When the 3rd clone dispersed, Naruto received 2 days of memories involving bad beer, worse jokes, and one merchant who spent 4 hours explaining why his cousin had been cheated on a shipment of onions. Naruto sat motionless for almost a minute. Kurama asked whether the mission had discovered anything valuable. Naruto said he now knew more about onions than any shinobi should. Kurama laughed for so long that Naruto considered closing the seal just to make a point. The useful information arrived later. One broker had received Naruto's lineage through an intermediary in the land of grass. Another source had received the same claim through a completely different route. The phrases were too similar. The timing was too close. It was planted information. Naruto followed one of the chains backward. Not personally. Clones, payments, threats. The source eventually became a man named Hozan, a mid-level information trader who sold routes, bounty descriptions, and missing nin movements. Naruto captured him outside a bathhouse. There was no dramatic battle. Hozan reached for a poison needle. Naruto broke his wrist, put him against a wall, and asked questions. Hozan did not know who the original buyer was. He had been paid through 3 layers of intermediaries. But he remembered one detail. The same network had recently purchased information about sightings of people wearing black cloaks marked with red clouds. Naruto's attention sharpened. He had seen that symbol in Danzo's notes. Akatsuki. The name appeared only a few times. A criminal organization. High-level missing nin. Uncertain objectives. Possible involvement in tailed beast movements. Danzo had never proven the masked man belonged to them. Naruto now had his first independent link. Someone spreading Naruto's identity had also been buying information about Akatsuki movements. That did not prove they were the same person. It gave Naruto a direction. Naruto did not kill Hozan. A frightened information broker was more useful alive than dead. He gave Hozan a false sighting, placing the yellow ghost several days east of his real route, then let him run and sell the lie. He expanded the search. Money was not unlimited, but it was not a new problem either. During his years as a mercenary, Naruto had divided his savings between several dead drops under false names, instead of carrying everything with him. He used those reserves for rooms, food, bribes, medicine, and information. Every payment still mattered, which was another reason he preferred clones and careful questions over buying every rumor offered to him. This time, he sent clones into places he normally avoided. Smuggler towns, mercenary camps, border markets, where shinobi with no village bought weapons without questions. The pattern took almost a month to form. Red clouds had been seen near the land of rivers. Then, near the land of grass. Then, nowhere. People who asked too many questions sometimes disappeared. Naruto learned something else. Akatsuki was not a normal group of criminals. They were patient. They did not control territory. They did not recruit openly. They appeared, completed something, and vanished. That made them difficult to hunt. It also made Naruto's clones useful. One clone noticed a tall man carrying an enormous wrapped sword in an alley. A few seconds later, the clone was destroyed. Only then did its memories return to Naruto. Its final impression was the important part. The man had noticed the clone before reacting to the disguise. He had noticed the chakra. That was different. Naruto moved camp before sunset. He was already too late. The next morning, while crossing a rocky river valley, Naruto heard water where there should not have been any. The river beside him rose. Not naturally. The entire surface lifted as if something underneath had pushed it upward. Naruto jumped. A massive blade tore through the place where he had been standing. Stone exploded. Naruto landed on the opposite bank. The swordsman pulled the weapon free. Tall, blue-gray skin, sharp teeth. A black cloak patterned with red clouds. The sword was wrapped in bandages, but Naruto could feel something unpleasant from it. The man grinned. His name was Kisame Hoshigaki. Naruto did not answer. He created 6 shadow clones. Kisame looked almost disappointed. Then the fight began. 2 clones threw kunai. 2 rushed low. 1 moved toward the river. The last stayed beside Naruto. The huge sword destroyed 2 clones and shattered the stones behind him. Naruto expected power. He had not expected speed. A third clone reached Kisame's back. The bandaged sword twisted. It struck the clone without Kisame even fully turning. Smoke filled the air. Naruto received the memory. The sword had moved toward the chakra before Kisame's eyes did. Naruto tested again. A clone drew a small amount of red-orange chakra from Kurama and attacked. The reaction was immediate. The sword pulled toward him. The bandages tore. Scales appeared beneath him. Samahata. The sword bit into the chakra cloak. Naruto felt the clone lose power before the blade even touched flesh. Then, the clone vanished. Kisame's grin widened. Naruto understood the problem. Kurama's chakra was food. Kisame understood something too. The Nine-Tails Jinchuriki could control at least part of the beast without losing his mind. That information was probably the reason he had come. Naruto created more clones. Kisame drove his hand toward the river. Water erupted across the valley. The battlefield changed in seconds. Naruto jumped onto a rock. A water shark exploded from below and took the rock apart. He barely escaped. Kurama suggested opening the flow. Naruto refused. More chakra meant more for Samehada to steal. Kurama called Kisame's sword disgusting. Naruto almost asked whether a giant fox sealed inside a human had the right to judge anyone's eating habits. He did not have time. Kisame crossed the water. Naruto blocked the first strike with a wind-coated kunai. The kunai shattered. Naruto twisted away. Samehada scraped his vest. Chakra vanished from his body so sharply that his legs almost failed. Kisame kicked him into the water. Naruto sank. The current pulled him backward. A water prison began forming around him. Two shadow clones attacked Kisame from the shore. Samehada tore through the first. Kisame turned toward the second. Naruto used that second to break the surface. He threw wire around a broken stone column and pulled himself out of the forming prison. Kisame laughed. Naruto ignored him. He needed to stop fighting like Naruto Uzumaki. At least the version Kisame had prepared for. Naruto cut off Kurama's chakra completely. The sudden disappearance made Samehada twitch. Naruto made only 2 clones, not 20. He threw ordinary kunai. Kisame blocked them. Naruto used a thin wind pulse to change the final weapon's angle. Kisame moved his head. The kunai cut his cheek. A shallow wound. Useful information. Naruto moved into the trees bordering the valley. Kisame followed. That was what Naruto wanted. The river favored Kisame. A forest favored wires, blind angles, transformed clones, and obstacles. Naruto placed one clone high in a tree. Another moved across the ground. The real Naruto disappeared behind broken stone. Samehada shifted toward the chakra in the tree. Naruto noticed. He gave the high clone a deliberate pulse of Kurama's chakra. Samehada almost pulled Kisame's arm upward. Kisame looked at the tree. The clone attacked dramatically. Too dramatically. Kisame knew it was bait. He cut through it anyway, because Samehada wanted the chakra. The lower clone moved. Kisame sensed him and turned. That clone threw smoke. For half a second, Kisame could not see the real Naruto. He did not need to. Samehada could feel chakra. Naruto had expected that too. The real trick was not hiding chakra. It was making the most attractive chakra come from the wrong place. A third clone, created only seconds earlier behind the smoke, accepted another short burst from Kurama. Samehada lunged toward it. Kisame fought the sword's pull for 1 instant. That instant was enough. The real Naruto emerged from below the ridge. No red chakra. No giant technique. Only wind gathered tightly along a short blade. Kisame turned late. The strike cut through the side of his cloak, armor, and flesh. Deep. Not fatal. Kisame reacted before Naruto could strike again. His elbow crashed into Naruto's face. Naruto hit the ground. Samehada came down. Naruto rolled. The blade tore through dirt where his chest had been. Naruto kicked the injury he had just created. Kisame snarled and retreated 2 steps. Both men paused. Naruto's ribs hurt again. His recently healed shoulder was shaking. Kisame was bleeding heavily from the side. but his expression had changed from amusement to respect. The battle could continue. Neither liked the cost. Kisame had learned what he needed. Naruto could use the Nine Tails chakra without immediately losing control. He was also more dangerous without it than the reports suggested. Naruto had learned something equally important. Akatsuki was not a rumor anymore. One of its members had attacked him directly. Kisame withdrew into the water. Naruto did not chase. He was not stupid enough to follow a wounded shark into a river. Before disappearing, Kisame confirmed one thing, without meaning to. He referred to Naruto as the Nine Tails. Not Naruto. Not the son of Minato. The beast. That told Naruto what Akatsuki valued. Kisame left. Naruto stayed beneath the trees until sunset. Only after he was sure no second attacker was waiting did he move. The cut on Kisame had not been a victory large enough to brag about. It was better. It had been proof. Akatsuki wanted Kurama, and if the masked man was tied to them, Naruto had just stepped into a much larger war. Kisame's report reached the masked man 2 days later. The masked man listened without interruption. Naruto had stopped increasing force when Samahata absorbed Kurama's chakra. He had adapted. He had used clones as sensory bait. He had recognized that the sword responded to stronger chakra signatures, more dangerous than raw strength. The boy learned. The masked man changed his plan. He no longer wanted bounty hunters to accidentally kill Naruto. He wanted them to move him, to expose contacts, to pressure him toward places Akatsuki could observe. And most of all, he wanted to know how much of Danzo's archive Naruto had taken. Naruto did not know any of that. He knew only that he needed a second source. Danzo's documents had taken him to Akatsuki. Kisame confirmed that path. But one person might know more about the night itself. Jiraiya. Naruto did not go looking for him immediately. He did not need to. Jiraiya was already looking for Naruto. The Sannin had returned to Konoha after the attack. He had stood in the ruined administrative district. He had seen Hiruzen's body. He had spoken to Iruka. He had spoken to Kakashi. He had also learned something that made his anger more complicated. Naruto had not destroyed the civilian shelters. He had not killed Iruka. He had not hunted people running from the village. Jiraiya did not forgive him. Naruto had killed Hiruzen. Nothing changed that. But Jiraiya also knew that if Naruto had completely surrendered to the Nine Tails, Konoha would have looked very different. The village would not be damaged. It would be gone. So Jiraiya returned to his old work. Information. He reopened everything he still had on the night Minato died. Barrier reports, old witness statements, notes about Kushina's delivery, fragments Hiruzen had refused to circulate. One detail had bothered Jiraiya for years. A protected site had been breached before Kurama appeared in the village. That meant the attack did not begin with the fox. It began with a person. Jiraiya sent word through several networks he knew Naruto had used. Not a demand, a location. Naruto spent 2 days verifying the place before approaching. This time, Jiraiya expected that. The meeting happened in an abandoned stone way station near the border of the Land of Rain. Neither arrived alone. Jiraiya had toads hidden around the perimeter. Naruto had clones watching the roads. Both noticed the other's precautions. Neither mentioned them. Jiraiya looked at Naruto for a long time. Naruto looked older than the last time they met. Not physically, by much. In the eyes, Jiraiya told him Hiruzen was dead. Naruto said he knew. Jiraiya asked whether he regretted it. Naruto answered no. The single word nearly ended the meeting. Jiraiya's anger filled the room. Naruto did not move. He did not justify himself. He had not come for forgiveness. After a long silence, Jiraiya placed a sealed packet on the stone table. Not all his information. Enough. Naruto placed copies of 3 pages from Danzo's file opposite him. Not the originals. Enough. That was how their alliance began. It was not trust. It was an exchange. Jiraiya confirmed the first important fact. The masked man had used a space-time technique. Jiraiya had reached that conclusion from several pieces that existed independently of Danzo's file. Barrier sensors had recorded chakra appearing and disappearing at impossible points around Kushina's protected delivery site. And surviving witnesses had separately described a masked figure vanishing from attacks and reappearing elsewhere. The second fact was worse. The attacker had a Sharingan. Not stolen for certain, not confirmed as an Uchiha, but the eye had been used well enough to control the Nine Tails. Naruto asked about surviving Uchiha who could have been old enough. Jiraiya went through names. Most had documented locations. Some were dead. Others had no ability anywhere near that level. Then Jiraiya mentioned Minato's own students: Kakashi Hatake, Rin Nohara, Obito Uchiha. Naruto looked up. Jiraiya immediately explained that Obito was dead, crushed during a mission years before the Nine Tails attack. The body had not been recovered intact, but the death had been witnessed by teammates. Rin was also dead before the attack. Kakashi was in Konoha that night. Jiraiya had mentioned them because Minato's old team was one of the first things he had checked once he began questioning who might understand Minato's habits. Naruto remembered the name: Obito Uchiha. Then he moved on. There were thousands of dead people in the shinobi world. A dead child was not automatically the man in the mask. Jiraiya also showed Naruto a damaged copy of an old team photograph. Minato stood behind 3 young shinobi: Kakashi, Rin, Obito. Naruto barely looked at it before returning to the reports. Jiraiya noticed. He kept the photograph. The more important information involved barriers. The unknown attacker had entered a location that should have been difficult to approach without warning. That fit the space-time technique. Jiraiya believed normal tracking would never be enough. Naruto agreed. That was why he wanted to understand the ability before meeting the man. They spent hours comparing records. At some point, Jiraiya noticed Naruto's separate stack of sealing notes. He asked what they were. Naruto almost refused to answer. Then, Kurama spoke inside the seal. The fox reminded him that promises became meaningless if Naruto refused every opportunity to keep them. Naruto hated when Kurama sounded reasonable. He explained the arrangement. Not everything. Enough. Jiraiya's reaction was immediate. He did not like the idea of Naruto altering Minato's seal. Naruto told him he did not like being a prison. Jiraiya said that was not what Minato had intended. Naruto replied that intentions had become a very tired subject in his life. That nearly ended the discussion. What changed Jiraiya's mind was not forgiveness. It was risk. Naruto had already been drawing on Kurama's chakra through a mechanism built around resistance. Every uncontrolled surge increased the chance that anger, injury, or outside interference would turn the exchange into a struggle. If Naruto and Kurama truly could cooperate voluntarily, then making the existing flow safer might reduce the danger instead of increasing it. Jiraiya demanded proof first. Naruto opened the seal, only enough for a small amount of chakra to move. Kurama pushed it forward, then stopped the instant Naruto asked. Naruto closed the flow without resistance. They repeated the test. Kurama stopped again. Only then did Jiraiya agree to help. He also had something Naruto did not. Years earlier, Minato had entrusted Jiraiya with emergency knowledge for maintaining the outer layer of the seal if Naruto ever lost ability. It was not a complete blueprint, and it did not give Jiraiya permission to dismantle the prison, but it did show how the external chakra valve was meant to be adjusted without touching the deeper structure. That became the limit. They would not remove the seal. They would not weaken the central prison. They would only retune part of the existing outer valve so that a deliberately limited amount of chakra could pass, when both Naruto and Kurama allowed it. Naruto knew the inside of his own seal better than Jiraiya ever could. Kurama knew exactly how the prison responded from the other side. Jiraiya understood the emergency formula Minato had left behind. For the first time, the three had useful pieces of the same puzzle. The first design Naruto drew was terrible. Naruto memorized the diagram, entered the inner world, and reproduced the rough pattern in the wet floor beyond the bars. Kurama stared at it. Then he asked why one line ended inside another line. Naruto said that was intentional. Kurama asked whether Naruto had considered that his greatest enemy might actually be handwriting. Naruto left the inner world. Jiraiya looked at the same diagram later. He stared at it for nearly the same amount of time. Then he asked why one line ended inside another line. Naruto decided the day was cursed. The final adjustment came mostly from Jiraiya's emergency formula. Naruto understood enough to question every line before allowing it near the seal. Kurama understood enough to test how the flow felt from the other side. They changed only a small portion of the existing outer valve. Jiraiya also added a simple emergency cutoff to the external formula, so he could collapse their modification if the test began damaging the deeper seal. The first attempt failed. Naruto opened the adjusted valve. Too much chakra entered. Red-orange energy flooded his arms. His vision sharpened. His heartbeat spiked. Jiraiya shut the secondary formula down. Naruto spent the next hour with a headache. The second adjustment was too narrow. Kurama compared it to trying to push a river through a drinking straw. The third setting finally behaved the way they intended. Kurama released a measured amount. Naruto accepted it. No struggle, no sudden burst of rage. When Naruto decided to close the flow, Kurama stopped pushing. The channel shut cleanly. Naruto opened his eyes. Jiraiya looked surprised. Kurama pretended not to be. Nothing about Naruto's power had changed magically. He did not gain a new transformation. He did not become invincible. What changed was efficiency. For the first time, Kurama could give him exactly what he needed, without both of them wasting strength fighting each other. It also changed something neither acknowledged. The trust between them was still small and conditional, but for the first time, it was real. Their temporary work ended when one of Naruto's information clones returned with the most obvious trap he had ever seen. A broker in the land of grass had heard that an unknown masked man would appear at an abandoned Uchiha war shrine 3 nights later. Naruto read the report twice. Jiraiya laughed once. Someone had finally made a trap insulting enough to be personal. Naruto agreed. Then he said he was going. Jiraiya stopped laughing. The shrine was not inside Konoha. It was an old fortified ritual site used by Uchiha units decades earlier during border conflicts. Most of the structures had collapsed. Only a stone courtyard, several broken pillars, and an underground chamber remained. If the masked man really was connected to the Uchiha, the rumor looked plausible. That made it more suspicious. Naruto and Jiraiya did not travel together. They created a simple plan. Jiraiya would approach from the north and place detection barriers around the wider area, not traps capable of stopping space-time movement. Only markers that might react when a large chakra signature appeared or vanished. Naruto would use clones to test the roads. The real Naruto would arrive last. 2 clones entered the region first. One allowed itself to be seen by a group of traveling mercenaries. Another reached the shrine and found nothing. The real Naruto waited 12 miles away until sunset. Then, one clone dispersed. Its memory returned. Shinobi from the hidden stone. Veterans. They were not searching the shrine. They were searching for Naruto. That answered one question. Someone had given them the same location. Naruto changed route. He reached a ridge overlooking the shrine shortly after dark. The stone team arrived from the east. Jiraiya was nowhere visible. Good. The first stone shinobi spotted Naruto almost immediately. The man's face changed when he saw the blonde hair. He said Minato's name, not Naruto's. Naruto understood. These were not bounty hunters. They were people with old, dead friends. The leader demanded Naruto surrender. Naruto did not. The first attack was an earth-release spear launched from the ground. Naruto stepped aside. A second shinobi closed the escape route. The third used stone armor across both arms. They were coordinated. Naruto created 4 clones. The battle lasted longer than the hunters at the cabin, and much less than Kisame. The first stone shinobi tried to trap Naruto between 2 rising walls. A clone took the position. The walls crushed it. The returned memory showed the timing. Naruto used the same opening on the next attempt, jumped onto the rising wall before it closed, and drove a wind-coated kunai through the attacker's shoulder. He did not kill him. Not yet. The armored fighter was harder. Normal kunai bounced. Naruto used wire around one ankle, while two clones forced him backward. The man broke the first wire. He did not see the second. Naruto pulled him off balance and struck the unarmored back of the knee. The man dropped. A short wind blade against the neck ended his ability to continue without killing him. Naruto could have finished both injured men. He chose not to. They had attacked him, but he was already beginning to suspect that someone else had arranged the meeting. And turning a manipulated stone squad into fresh corpses would only create a larger war with Iwa while he was hunting a different enemy. The leader became angry. That was when Naruto noticed something strange. Every time the stone shinobi repositioned, they pushed him toward the western side of the courtyard, not because of their formation, because the field report that led them here included a recommended containment point. The report had reached them through an old Iwa border source, whose information had been reliable for years. So the veterans had treated the advice as their own intelligence rather than an anonymous suggestion. Someone had compromised a source they trusted. The stone shinobi did not know that. They thought they were using tactical advice from their own network. Naruto looked toward the broken pillars west of the shrine. Nothing. Kurama felt something. Not chakra, the memory of chakra. A familiarity too old to explain. Naruto stopped moving west. He went east. The stone leader shouted and pursued. Space twisted behind the man. A hand emerged from nowhere. The stone shinobi disappeared. No explosion. No blood. One moment he existed. The next he was gone. The three stone shinobi still in the courtyard froze. Naruto did not. He attacked the distortion immediately. His kunai passed through a black cloak. The figure stepped fully into the courtyard. Orange spiral mask. One eye hole. Black cloak with red clouds. Kurama's voice became a growl. The chakra matched. Naruto had imagined this moment for weeks. He had expected rage. What he felt was clarity. He threw a wind blade at the mask. It passed through the man's head. The masked man did not move. Naruto attacked again. A clone came from behind. Another from above. All three attacks passed through him. Then the masked man moved. His hand reached toward Naruto's shoulder. Kurama pushed a measured pulse through the new channel. Naruto accelerated sideways. The hand missed by inches. Space twisted around the fingers. Naruto felt the pull. Not wind, something worse. A force trying to remove him from the battlefield entirely. He broke contact. The masked man tilted his head. Naruto attacked again. Same result. The body became untouchable. The masked man moved through the strike. Naruto's clone tried to grab his leg. Its hands passed through. The masked man's hand became solid. At the exact moment it touched the clone vanished into smoke. Naruto received the memory. Contact. For one fraction of a second, the man's hand had resistance. Naruto did not assume that was the weakness. He tested it. Two clones attacked together. One swung. The attack passed through. The second did nothing. The masked man ignored it. Three clones this time. The first attacked. The second threw a kunai. The third moved close enough to be captured. The masked man let the first two attacks pass through and reached for the third. The third clone punched at the same instant. Its fist met something. Only for a moment. Then the clone disappeared into the spiral distortion. No returned memory. The clone had not dispersed. It had simply vanished somewhere Naruto could no longer see. The masked man could transport targets. That was worse. Naruto stepped back. The stone shinobi who remained decided this was no longer their fight. One of the less injured men pulled the armored fighter upright, while the shoulder-wounded shinobi covered them. They withdrew from the courtyard. The masked man ignored them. His attention stayed on Naruto. He asked for Danzo's documents. Naruto finally spoke. He asked if the man wanted the originals or the copies already moving through 3 countries. That was a lie. The masked man became still. Useful. Naruto had confirmed the documents mattered. The attack resumed. This time the masked man stopped waiting. He appeared beside Naruto with no visible travel between positions. Naruto blocked a chain with a kunai. The chain wrapped the weapon. Naruto released it. The masked man's other hand reached for his chest. Naruto used a chakra arm from Kurama's measured flow. The red-orange extension struck. It passed through the masked man's body, but it forced him to remain intangible. Naruto realized another piece. The enemy could avoid attacks. He could move. He could teleport himself. He could capture others. The danger existed when he chose to interact. That choice created the window. Naruto needed to make him choose at the wrong time. A barrier mark flared blue-white on a broken pillar. Jiraiya. The masked man's head turned slightly. Another mark activated behind him. Then, a third. The barriers did not stop the space-time technique. They did something simpler. They reacted when the masked man's chakra vanished from normal space and returned. That was their only job. The marks could not stop the technique, slow it, or disrupt the Sharingan. They could only tell Jiraiya that the masked man's chakra had left normal space, or returned to it. Jiraiya now had warning. He entered from above with a toad-assisted strike. The masked man phased through it. Jiraiya landed beside Naruto. There was no greeting or dramatic speech. They had work to do. The masked man changed tactics immediately. Naruto was the target, but Jiraiya was the easier person to punish for interfering. A chain emerged through the edge of a pillar. Jiraiya avoided it. The masked man appeared behind him. Naruto saw the barrier mark flare a fraction before the body became visible. He attacked. The masked man phased again. Jiraiya understood. The marks could not catch him. They could shorten the surprise. That was enough to survive longer. For several minutes, the fight became a pattern of tests. Naruto's clones attacked from angles. Jiraiya used hair needles, fire, and summoned toads to control open space. The masked man ignored attacks he did not need to answer. He became physical, only to grab, chain, strike, or reposition an object. Every time he did, Naruto tried to punish the moment. Every time he was slightly late. The window was tiny. Naruto increased Kurama's chakra. Not all at once. A measured flow. His speed rose. The masked man noticed. Naruto nearly caught his wrist during the next attempt. Nearly. Then the masked man changed targets. He vanished. A barrier mark flashed behind Jiraiya. Jiraiya turned. Too late. A black kunai drove into Jiraiya's side, below the ribs. Jiraiya gasped. The masked man twisted the weapon and tore it free, as Naruto struck with the chakra arm. The enemy became intangible. Jiraiya hit the ground. Blood spread across his clothing. Naruto's focus narrowed. Kurama offered more chakra. Naruto accepted a little. Not everything. Enough. The red-orange aura thickened around his shoulders and arms. Naruto created 12 clones. The masked man looked at them. He had seen the method before. He knew Naruto learned through them. So he stopped destroying clones when he did not have to. Instead, he moved through them, ignored them, forced Naruto to spend chakra maintaining useless bodies. Naruto dispersed half himself. Information returned. The enemy was adapting to the learning system. Good. That meant he was thinking about it. Naruto changed again. He stopped using clones as attackers. He used them as clocks. 4 clones stood at different distances. One threw a kunai every time the masked man materialized. Not to hit, to mark timing. Another watched the barrier flashes. A third watched the enemy's hands. The fourth watched the chain. Naruto fought. The clones measured. The masked man realized what was happening and attacked the observers. That created new materialization windows. Jiraiya, still conscious, pressed one hand against his wound and used the other to activate 2 more barrier markers. Naruto received 1 clone's memory. A pattern. The enemy stayed intangible through danger. He became physical just before his hand made contact. The transition was short, but not instant. Naruto needed a target valuable enough that the masked man would commit. Himself. That was too obvious. A clone disguised as himself was also obvious. So Naruto created one clone and did something different. He gave it a heavier pulse of Kurama's chakra. Then, Naruto deliberately reduced the chakra around his real body. The clone staggered visibly. It looked exhausted. The masked man paused. Naruto understood the suspicion. He needed to sell it. The clone tried to attack and failed. Its chakra flickered. Naruto remained hidden behind a broken section of wall, with almost no visible Kurama aura. He stopped attacking. The battlefield became quiet. The masked man moved toward the exhausted clone, slowly, carefully. The masked man reached. The clone did not attack. The hand made contact with its shoulder. Space began to twist. The clone moved. Both hands locked around the masked man's wrist. The enemy became solid. The clone could not hold him. It did not need to. One of Jiraiya's barrier marks reacted the instant the masked man's chakra returned fully to normal space. Naruto had been waiting for exactly that confirmation. He came from the side. No huge technique, no roar, no speech. A compressed blade of wind ran along his kunai. He struck the mask. The first impact cracked it. The masked man turned. The blade continued across the spiral surface. Orange fragments broke away. The man kicked Naruto in the chest. Naruto flew backward and hit stone. The masked man tore free from the clone. The clone vanished. Silence followed. Half the mask remained. The other half lay in pieces across the courtyard. Naruto pushed himself up. Jiraiya stared. The exposed face was scarred badly along one side. Black hair, one Sharingan. The age was right. The damage was not random. Years earlier, a boy on Minato's team had been crushed beneath stone along one side of his body. A boy whose body had never been properly recovered. Jiraiya said the name before he could stop himself. Obito Uchiha. The masked man's eye shifted toward him. That reaction was enough. Naruto remembered the old photograph. The loud-looking Uchiha boy standing beside Kakashi and Rin. He remembered dismissing the name because the boy was dead. Apparently death had been another bad record. Kurama's growl filled Naruto's mind. Same chakra, same man. Obito did not deny it. He did not explain. He did not tell Naruto why he attacked Kushina. He did not explain how a student of Minato became the man who destroyed his teacher's family. He looked at Naruto with one exposed Sharingan and said only that Naruto understood far less than he believed. Naruto answered by attacking. Obito phased through the first strike. Jiraiya tried to stand. The effort failed. Naruto realized the truth. They had revealed him. They had hurt him. They had not won. Obito was still capable of leaving whenever he chose. Naruto forced more chakra through the new channel. Kurama stopped him. Not because the fox wanted mercy. Because Naruto's body had reached the edge. His shoulder had only recently healed. His ribs were strained again. The fight had consumed enormous chakra. If Naruto opened wider now, he might gain seconds of speed and lose the ability to pursue anything afterward. Obito saw the hesitation. He touched the remaining half of his mask. Space twisted around him. Naruto threw one final wind-guided kunai. It passed through empty air. Obito disappeared. The courtyard became still. The remaining stone shinobi were gone. Jiraiya was bleeding. Naruto stood among broken pillars, with several orange fragments of the mask scattered near his feet. Before they left the shrine, Jiraiya quietly collected a smaller fragment of his own as physical evidence. For the first time since reading Danzo's report, the man in the mask had a face. A name. Obito Uchiha. Naruto had spent the second half of his life hating Konoha for what it did after his parents died. Now, he knew the person who had made that night happen in the first place. That did not erase Konoha's choices, resurrect Hiruzen, or make Naruto regret destroying Root. It meant Obito carried a separate debt of his own. Minato's own student had attacked Kushina, controlled Kurama, forced Minato into the battle that killed both Naruto's parents. Naruto wanted answers. Then he wanted Obito dead. In that order. Jiraiya survived. The black kunai had passed through the thick muscle of his side, below the ribs. It had missed the kidney, lung, and the largest blood vessels, but the torn tissue had bled heavily and left him unable to travel safely. Naruto helped move him to an isolated cave several miles from the shrine. Jiraiya hated needing the help. Naruto hated giving it. Kurama said they were developing a very strange friendship. Naruto told him to be quiet. Naruto cleaned and packed the wound with the field medicine he knew. One of Jiraiya's smaller toads carried a message to a hidden supply point and returned with stronger antiseptic, bandages, and medicine from one of Jiraiya's own caches. They remained there for several days. By the fourth day, Jiraiya could move carefully without reopening the wound, though he was still far from battle-ready. They did not talk much. Jiraiya finally asked whether knowing the name changed anything. Naruto considered the question. Not the past. Konoha had still made its decisions. Danzo had still tried to control him. Hiruzen had still allowed Naruto to grow up alone. Obito did not magically absorb everyone else's guilt. But Obito carried his own, a much older one. Jiraiya admitted that he needed confirmation, not because he doubted what he saw, because one person in Konoha deserved to hear the name before anyone else, Kakashi. Naruto did not offer to go. Jiraiya did not ask him. Their temporary alliance had never been a road home. Before leaving, Jiraiya gave Naruto one final warning. Akatsuki would respond differently now. Before the shrine, Naruto was a valuable Jinchuriki, asking dangerous questions. Now, he knew the identity of someone operating near the center of their plans. Whatever patience they had shown would shrink. Naruto already knew. Hisame had been reconnaissance with teeth. The next visit would be different. Jiraiya returned toward the land of fire. Naruto went the opposite direction. At the edge of the road, Kurama asked what Naruto planned to do next. Naruto looked at the broken piece of orange mask in his hand. Obito could disappear through space. He was connected to Akatsuki. Akatsuki wanted Kurama. That meant Naruto no longer had to search an entire world for one ghost. The ghost belonged to something. Something with members. Roots, contacts, objectives, weaknesses. Naruto had destroyed one organization before. Root had hidden beneath Konoha for years and believed secrecy made it untouchable. It had been wrong. Akatsuki was stronger, much stronger. That only changed the amount of work. Back in Konoha, the recovery continued. Kakashi received Jiraiya's message in a half-repaired administrative building. The room still smelled faintly of smoke. Jiraiya placed the smaller mask fragment he had collected at the shrine on the table. Then he described the face. Black hair, Sharingan. Severe scarring across the side that should have been crushed. The age. The space-time technique. Kakashi did not react at first. Then Jiraiya said the name. Obito Uchiha. Kakashi stared at him. He called it impossible. Jiraiya said that was also his first thought. Kakashi asked who had confirmed it. Jiraiya answered that Naruto had fought him. The room became even quieter. Kakashi looked down at the orange mask fragment. A boy he had watched die. A teammate whose eye Kakashi still carried. A man now connected to the night Minato and Kushina died. Kakashi did not have enough information to understand it. But for the first time, he had a reason to question an old grave. Kakashi did not spread the information through the village. He told Sasuke a limited version deliberately. Sasuke was one of the last people with any chance of recognizing old Uchiha family records, names or habits that outsiders might miss. Kakashi told him only what was necessary. Obito Uchiha might be alive. He appeared connected to Akatsuki. The information was not to leave the room. The name meant something different to Sasuke. His brother had destroyed the Uchiha clan. That remained true. But if another adult Uchiha had survived and operated from the shadows, Sasuke wanted to know why. He did not suddenly become Naruto's ally. He did not abandon Itachi. He simply gained another question. The Hidden Stone received its own report. 3 members of the Shrine team returned alive. Their commander had vanished into the masked man's spacetime technique, and the survivors admitted that the containment instructions they trusted had been compromised before the mission began. Iwa did not know whether its missing commander was alive. It did know that someone connected to Akatsuki had manipulated one of its information channels. That gave the stone a reason to investigate the masked man instead of blaming every loss on Naruto. Far away, Akatsuki gained a problem. Kisame had confirmed Naruto's growing control over the Nine Tails, but he had failed to capture him or determine how much of Danzo's information had survived. The shrine operation had also failed to capture Naruto. Worse, Obito's identity had been exposed to Jiraiya. The organization could tolerate rumors. It could tolerate hunters. It could not comfortably tolerate a free Nine Tails Jinchuriki who had started mapping the people behind it. Obito replaced the damaged mask. The new one covered the same scarred face, but the situation behind it had changed. Naruto was no longer a child to be collected later. He was no longer simply Konoha's missing weapon. He had destroyed the village that once contained him. He had adapted to Kisame. He had improved cooperation with Kurama. He had learned part of Kamui's weakness in a single battle, and now he knew the name Obito Uchiha. That made waiting dangerous. Akatsuki began adjusting its plans. Not every member would be sent at once. That would draw attention and waste resources. The Nine Tails was also meant for a later stage of their larger sealing plan. And killing Naruto now would only force Kurama to reform somewhere else and delay everything. But Naruto would no longer be allowed to move freely without pressure. His contacts would be watched. His clones would be hunted. Information markets would be poisoned with false trails. And when the right opening appeared, the Nine Tails would be taken. Naruto knew none of the details. He did not need to. He had learned something much simpler from 16 years of living around shinobi. Once an enemy became afraid of what you might discover, they started making mistakes. Naruto walked alone beneath a gray morning sky. His shoulder still ached. His ribs hurt again from Obito's kick. The broken mask fragment sat inside his pouch beside Danzo's report. Kurama rested behind the seal, quieter than usual. For years, Naruto's hatred had pointed backward, toward a village, toward old decisions, toward men who had already made their choices. Now it pointed forward. Obito was alive. Obito was hiding behind Akatsuki. Naruto had already found him once. The next time, a broken mask would not be enough. If Akatsuki stood between Naruto and the man who destroyed his family, then Naruto would learn every name inside it. He would learn how they fought. He would learn what they wanted. And one by one, he would remove whatever stood in the way. The world had spent years asking what would happen if the Nine Tails Jinchuriki escaped Konoha. Konoha had learned the answer. Akatsuki was about to learn the next one.